Hi guys, it's Nick. Okay, something completely different today. This video is going to be 5 truths and a lie. It's a response to Margaret Texas Gal Treasures video, where she came out with 5 things that were true about her and 1 that was a lie. And your job as the viewer is to try and guess which one is the lie. At the end, after I've been through them all, I will reveal which ones were true and which ones were lies. But if you stop the video at the point where I've been through them all, make your comments before finding out which one was a lie and see if you get it right. So that's the plan. So I'm now going to go through and I will give my 5 truths and 1 lie, which will be mixed in there somewhere. And then at the end I will go through in a bit more detail and explain the background to the stories. So, first one is camping on a roundabout. When I think I would have been 17 or 18, I used to be big into cycling, and this was in the early 90s, and I used to cycle to the seaside, which from here is about 100 miles, and I'd go down. This particular time I went down with a friend called John, and we used to go down there to play on the arcades. Arcade games for me in the early 90s were it was all about, and I would cycle 100 miles to the coast just to play arcade games. And while we were there, we'd, be silly, drink beer, whatever. This particular time, like I say, we were about 16, 17, I'm guessing, about at this point, maybe 18, about that age. And yeah, we would drink a lot of beer and just get daft, and we would camp. And we would leave setting up our tent till late, so we'd just pitch it anywhere. We just didn't care. And this one particular night, we got pretty hammered and then set up our tent. And when we woke up in the morning, we found out that we were camping on a roundabout. So that's the first one. I set up my tent on a roundabout. Okay, number 2. Shot in the face with an air gun. Now, I don't know if it's going to show. You can see there's a scar here. It's not very well defined, but there's a scar right on my cheekbone, right there. Now, same friend, actually. This was a few years prior to when we'd discovered beer. We were just into anything that was trouble. And me and this same friend bought an air gun. We chipped in together and bought this air gun off another older kid who was pretty dodgy, and he just had lots of what we thought was cool stuff. We bought this air gun, which was a gun that fired little metal pellets, and we were just stupid with it. We were prattling around, and effectively, to cut a long story short, I ended up getting shot in the face at pretty much point blank range. And we were, I guess, about 14, and we just panicked. It was bleeding quite a lot, and we were worried that the little pellet, was somewhere stuck in my face. So we kind of had to fess up and went to my mum. I got blood pouring down my face, and John standing there with a gun. It was like just a nightmare. But it had broken the skin. It wasn't a bad injury, actually. It just looked a lot worse than it was. And the pellet, I think, had just bounced off because there was nothing in there. But my mum was so worried about the whole thing that I didn't even go and get stitches in it. I don't actually think it needed stitches. The only reason it has scarred, there you can see it quite well there. The only reason it scarred so badly was because I am terrible at picking scabs, and I picked the scab off that continually, so it ended up scarring. So that's the second one, when I was shot in the face with an air gun. Right, number 3. In 2000, I went on a road trip with my now wife, Andrea. We drove from one side of America to the other, and when we crossed the border into Texas, they had these great big, huge, sort of 3-story building tall stars of Texas made of metal. And I thought that would make a cool picture, and I climbed up one of the sort of inner triangle bits and sat on the peak of it. The thing is, it was like, I don't know how hot, it was ridiculously hot, and the metal had heated up during the day, and I literally burnt the backside of my legs sat on this metal thing. So that's my third fact is that I burnt my arse sat on the Star of Texas on the border somewhere in Texas. Number, where are we now? 4. My dad is a beekeeper. He has been for many years. The irony of this is I am scared of bees. That's number 4. My dad's a beekeeper and I am scared of bees. Number 5. My great uncle received a civilian medal for bravery. He, I think it was like the Merchant Navy sort of thing, the deal that he worked for. He wasn't military, hence it was a civilian medal. And he rescued a person from drowning. He jumped overboard from his ship and rescued somebody who was drowning. I think it was in a river somewhere. I do have all the facts of it somewhere. And he was given a civilian medal of bravery, which I have. That is number 5. Number 6 is Game Boy high score. This was in 1991. I had the original classic black and white Game Boy, which I loved with a passion, and my favourite game on it was Tetris. I played this game to death, and I was in Club Nintendo. I used to get the magazines, and they had high score lists in there. And the guy who had the highest score on the basic, like, never-ending game of Tetris that slowly gets quicker and quicker was this German guy. He was kind of head and shoulders above this whole league table. And the summer holiday of 91, I set myself a challenge to beat this guy. And I hammered that game for day after day. And eventually, this took me like a month of hardcore playing Tetris. I beat this guy's high score. But obviously, in order to prove that, you had to get some evidence. So I had to take photographs of the screen with the high score, etc. And I had a pretty basic, like, little Kodak camera. You know, it was just a point and click thing. And I took what felt like about half a roll of film on this thing, different angles, nearer, further away, and sent the film off to TruePrint or whatever it was. When it came back, every single shot was out of focus and blurred, and none of them showed the score. There was no way of saving your scores on a Game Boy, and I never got close to that score again. So I couldn't prove that I had what was the highest score up to that point in Europe on Tetris, and I was absolutely mortified. So that's my number 6. Okay, so hopefully you've all put your guesses in before I go through and now reveal which ones were true and which ones weren't. So if you haven't, pause it now, pop your guess in, what you think is the lie, and then I'll do the reveal. So let me go through them one at a time. My dad is a beekeeper, which is true, and I am scared of bees, which is also true. I tried to get over this fear so it could be something we could do together. I've been along with him. They avoid him and they go for me. I went with him to pick up a swarm. He collects swarms. If people have a swarm near their home or on their property, they will call my dad and he'll go and he'll collect the swarm, and then he will, you know, put them in a hive and keep them as bees. And I went with him to pick up a swarm once. I stood way back. He's in there with the bees everywhere. Fine. I'm stood like 50 yards away, and a bee just saw me, came along and stung me on the face. What's that all about? So anyway, yeah, that is totally true. Second one, I will do these in a random order so you won't have any clue which one is the lie right until the reveal at the end. So second one, whilst driving across America with Andrea, I burnt my bum on the Star of Texas. This is totally true. And here is the picture of me doing it. I sat there, and of course, you know, it's the whole, yeah, I'm ready. Oh, hang on, let me do another one, hang on. And I'm sat there like thinking, okay, this is now starting to hurt. And there is me burning my ass in the year 2000. So that is also true. Next one. Drunk tent pitching on a roundabout. That is true. Everything in that was true. I used to do a lot of cycling, and we would go to the coast on a regular basis, and we would pitch our tent here, there and everywhere. And the more drunk we were, the more random the places we would pitch our tent. And yes, one morning we woke up to realise we were on a roundabout with, you know, all the traffic going around us. It was like, okay. So yes, that is true. Number 4, Game Boy high score. That is also true. I was absolutely addicted to that game. I spent hours, days, weeks trying to beat that high score, and I did, and I'm the only person that saw it, and you know, I could never prove it. So yeah, and all of those pictures I took didn't come out. It still gets me, that story. Oh, the frustration was unbelievable. So yes, that is totally true. Where are we? So that brings us down to 2 left. So the lie is either about my great uncle getting a medal, or that I was shot in the face with an air gun. So one of those is a lie. And I can reveal that the true story out of those 2, and I can show you the medal, is this. This is Civilian Medal of Bravery, which was issued, and it's got his name on it. He wasn't a Hills. He was like a, yeah, he had a different surname. It's on my nana's side. Their surname was Hoggett. I don't know if it's going to show. Yeah, it's not really going to show up, but it's got all of his name and everything on there. And there's a website that lists all of the people that have received this and what they did to get it. So that is my great uncle's Civilian Medal of Bravery. So you know what that means? That means that the lie out of all of those was that this scar was from me getting shot in the face with an air gun. That is totally made up. This scar is from when I had chickenpox. I have quite a number of scars all over my body because the bit of it that was true is that I picked scabs and I made all of my chickenpox scar quite badly. So I have a lot of these scars, but the one that is obvious is the one on my cheek there. We did mess around with air guns and catapults and all those classic things that teenage boys do, but I was never shot in the face, and this scar is not a result of being shot in the face by my friend with an air gun. So yeah, hope you enjoyed that. Please give it a thumbs up if you did. I can't wait to see what you guys thought was the lie before the reveal, so hopefully you put your comments down below saying what you thought was the lie. Thanks to Margaret for putting this challenge out there, and I'll speak to you guys soon. Bye for now.